I'm here at Lugano 2019 International Conference on Lymphoma, and here we had a satellite symposium with the Lymphoma Hub, and the hub was, or this symposium was really quite interesting. We were trying to tackle a really relevant question, and that's what is the role of non-chemotherapy agents and regimens in the treatment of several common malignancies, specifically CLL, large cell lymphoma, follicular lymphoma, and mantle cell lymphoma. And it turns out, as a lot of us, I think, already know, that the role of non-chemotherapy drugs is probably going to be very different across these different histologies. Large cell lymphoma, I would say, is probably the disease that, at least today, is most difficult to treat with non-chemo drugs. We've seen some great results with agents like CAR T cells. In fact, many times patients who have relapsed after all known therapies are getting cures with CAR T cells. But outside of CAR T cells, the role of novel agents is still really pretty unknown in large cell lymphomas. At this meeting, we're going to see the results from the SMART START trial. This was a very interesting trial done at MD Anderson by my colleague Jason Weston, where we took a couple of non-chemotherapy agents and gave them prior to chemotherapy, so kind of an induction arm. And in this trial, we saw an impressive overall response rate of 83% with a non-chemotherapy combination in this aggressive lymphoma. Hopefully, we're going to see further trials in the coming years using these novel kind of regimens or pre-chemotherapy approaches in aggressive lymphomas. We've also seen in mantle cell lymphoma and in CLL combinations with drugs like venetoclax and ibrutinib, which are truly changing the standard of care of these diseases, and the role of chemotherapy is becoming less and less relevant. Follicular lymphoma, which is what I do a lot of my own work on, we've also seen groundbreaking new trials looking at the role of drugs like lenalidomide and rituximab, both in the relapse setting and in the front line, and many of these trials suggest that regimens like lenalidomide and rituximab could play a role for patients with relapse disease and with newly diagnosed lymphoma. Finally, we've seen other novel drugs like PI3 kinase inhibitors, BTK inhibitors, newer anti-CD20 drugs, which are really making a huge impact across many different B-cell cancers, both aggressive and indolent diseases. So I think, my opinion in general is that these combinations, these novel approaches will be a major will have major impact across different B-cell cancers, but the introduction, or I should say the displacement of chemotherapy, is probably going to be variable depending on the histology.